go. We're in
That's one of those
Eruvin Zayin Gimel.
Zion Gimel. If a trench between two courtyards is 10 deep and 4 wide, they may make 2 Eruvim, but may not make 1 Eruv, even if it is filled with stubble or straw. If it is filled with earth or pebbles, they may make 1 Eruv, but they may not make 2. If one placed a board which is 4 fists wide across it, similarly, if 2 balconies are opposite each other, they may make 2 Eruvim. But if they wish, they may make 1 Eruv. Less than this, they may make 2 Eruvim, but they may not make 1. If a haystack between 2 courtyards is 10 fists high, they may make 2 Eruvim, but not make 1. They may feed from this side, and those may feed from that side. If the hay was reduced to less than 10 fists, they may make 1 Eruv, but may not make
2. Did you just mute yourself?
No, I didn't touch it. I didn't do anything.
Okay, fine. So you suddenly, I thought you suddenly went silent. Okay, no problem. All right. Fine. So now, Ketzad Mishtatfin b'Maboy. Okay, so now new subject. What's the method of doing a shituf mavos? Okay, again, this is we saw that the combination of streets, that's kind of like what we have in the city, as opposed to courtyards, which is all these private dwellings. And okay, he takes a barrel of wine, and it could be anything really, but for our purposes, we're assuming that we're dealing with a barrel of wine as the Eruv food. Okay. This is hereby declared to be for all of the residents adjoining the Mavoy. He doesn't even need their permission, because we have a principle in halacha that you can do something for somebody's benefit, or it's 100% to their benefit, and it's a no-brainer. Then you can do it for their benefit without their permission. Okay.
So how did that work before in the Mishnayos we had before, where we said this person didn't join or that person didn't join, and we created problems?
So right. So in practice, you probably won't ever have such a situation, because people will say, okay, I'm doing this to be mezakeh everyone. It's a benefit for everyone, and therefore you should do things like that. But if people did it the technical way, and everyone contributed a piece, and nobody was mezakeh anyone else, then that's when you can run into trouble if somebody forgot.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So here he's saying he can be mezakedem alidei beno vito hagedolim, his adult child, in other words, over bar mitzvah. Okay, so they can do a kinyan on behalf of somebody else. Alidei avdo v'shivcha evrim, or his Hebrew slaves. Alidei ishto, even his wife. Now, interesting. This is narrowed down to a situation where the wife, where the marriage is such that they both have rights to earn, because if you have the more sort of classical marriage where the husband owns everything and the wife is totally dependent on him, and she has to do sewing and whatever to earn her keep in the house, where she's not a full partner in the house finances, then we also say yadaki yado, because everything that she picks up will also belong to him. But when they're running a more sort of modern household where both the husband and wife are earning and both have the rights to spend, then she's also an independent entity, and you can have her being mezakeh because she has an independent right to pick up things. Okay. His minor children cannot make a kinyan, because while they're living in his household, everything that they pick up automatically becomes his. So it's like he's taking out of his right hand with his left hand. Same thing. Because their hands are like his hands. As soon as they pick up something, it automatically belongs to their owner. So you can't use them to be mezakeh. Okay, are you with me on this?
I'm with you. I'm fine. I'm just looking at the closet because someone's coming in
No,
who I
no,
don't
that's fine.
know.
I just wanted to make sure that you were okay with this.
Okay.
Okay. Mishnah Zayin Nismai to Ochel. Now, we're going to see in Mishnah in the coming Mishnah in Mishnah Ches what the amounts are that you need to set aside. But before we get there, we say let's say that the amount of food that was required is that the food itself was diminished. It doesn't matter how. It could be that people ate it, it could be that rats ate it, could be that it was burned. Okay, but the amount was reduced. Then it's no problem. He can just add up to the required minimum before Shabbos comes in, and there's no need to inform anyone that he's doing this. Okay. However, if more people joined the mavoi, so you can add on food to according to the number of newcomers. However, he has to notify them that he's doing this, so that they know that they're allowed to use the mavoi to carry.
Okay.
It was in the previous case, it's no change to the status quo, but now that that they're new people, he does have to inform them.
Right.
Okay. Ches kama hushiro. How much do you have to put aside for the eruv? Bisman shehen merubin. When you have lots of neighbors, i.e., it'll turn out that it's more than 18. Mazon shtei seudas lekulam. So enough food for two seudas for one person is enough to cover any number of residents. So whether it's 18 people or a city, that's you just have to put aside enough food for two seudas, which is about 18 grogeros. Okay, which is or six eggs, six medium-sized eggs, because an egg is about 3 grogeros. Okay, and even if there were 1,000 people, you're living in a city, it's enough. This 18 grogeros, 18 dried dates, dried figs. Yeah. Okay.
Even if there are 1,000 people, it's still the same amount of eggs.
It's what?
Is that what you're saying?
So it doesn't matter how
many.
many. Once you got more than 18 people, you don't increase the amount of food. Okay. However, if there are fewer than this, then one grogeris of food is enough. Lahotza Shabbos, exactly the amount that you'd be chayav on for carrying in the street in Shabbos. Remember that all food is in the shear of a grogeris for carrying. And similarly, it's the same shear for how much you need for a mavoi. So if you've got 17 people, 17 grogeros. 18 enough, it stays at 18 and doesn't go higher.
This is a little different than the mission that we had, where in one case, you would give them enough for one meal, enough for 2 meals, or enough for 3 meals. We had that mission where
that was the one when he was saving his stuff from the fire.
Right. So here, but it's only 2 meals.
But this is for an eruv. Yeah, it's a totally different subject now. Yeah. Okay. Good.
So what happens between the second meal and the third meal? You're still able to carry because the 2 meals were there, or?
Sorry, ask me the question again.
What happens between the second meal and the third meal? Is there a problem with carrying or anything because they've?
Why this is talking about setting up the eruv before Shabbos. You can't set up an eruv during Shabbos, and you need one grogeris per person for the whole Shabbos.
Right. Okay. All right.
That's all that you need for the eruv. Just that there should be a significant amount of food per person that they would be allowed, that justifies them carrying through the mavoi in order to get at that piece of food. It's not. Okay. It doesn't have to. The eruv food is not there to provide their entire Shabbos needs. It's just got to be there in order that they have an interest.
Right. Okay. All right. I got it.
Okay. All right. Hey Aleph.
Okay. Hey Aleph. How does one extend the towns? A house is recessed or a house protrudes, or a tower is recessed or a tower protrudes. They were ruins 10 fists high, or bridges or mausoleums in which there is a dwelling. They extend the boundary opposite them, and they make it as a square table so that one may gain the corners. That's interesting because we had the circle before with the square. Remember we had that, right? Okay. We grant a carpet to a town. These are the words of Reb Meir. But the Chachamim say they did not say the rule of carpet, except that between two towns, if this one has 70 cubits at a fraction, and that one has 70 cubits at a fraction, a carpet is granted to the two of them because to become one area. Similarly, three villages forming a triangle, if there are 141 and a third cubits between the two outer ones, the middle one causes all three of them to become as one. Okay.
Done.
Yes, Stalin.
Shabbos, Yud Daled Gimel.
We may not eat Greek hyssop on Sabbath because it is not food for healthy people, but we may eat pennyroyal or drink not grass water. A person may eat any foods for healing, and he may drink any beverages except for the water of palm trees or potions of roots, because they are cures for jaundice. However, one may drink the water of a palm tree to quench his thirst, and he may anoint himself with root oil if it is not for healing. One whose teeth pain him may not sip vinegar through them, but he may dip his bread in vinegar in his usual manner, and if it is cured, he is cured. One whose loin pains him, he may not anoint himself with wine or vinegar. He may, however, anoint himself with oil, but not with rose oil. Princes may rub rose oil on their wounds, for such is the custom to anoint themselves on weekdays. And Reb Shimon says all Israel are princes. These are the knots for which we are liable. The camel driver's knot and the sailor's knot, and just as one is liable for tying them, so too one is liable for untying them. Where Meir says any knot which one can untie with one hand, we are not liable for. Okay, okay. We have Maestris. From a vine which is planted in the courtyard, one may take the whole cluster. Likewise with a pomegranate, and likewise with a melon. So says Rev Tarfon. Rev Akiva says he may pluck the grapes from the clusters, and pick the seeds from the pomegranate, and cut slices from the melon. From coriander sown in the courtyard, one may pluck leaf by leaf and eat, but together he is liable. Savory, hyssop, and thyme in the courtyard, if guarded, are liable. If a fig tree stands in the courtyard and overhangs a garden, one may eat in his usual manner and is exempt. But if it stands in the garden and overhangs the courtyard, he may eat one by one and is exempt. But if he took together, he is liable. If he stands in the land and overhangs outside the land and overhangs the land, all follows the root. As regards houses of walled cities, all follows the root. But as regards cities of refuge, all follows the branches, and in Jerusalem, all follows the branches. If one pickles, stews, salts in the field, he is liable. If one stores in the ground, he is exempt. If one dips in the field, he is exempt. If one bruises olives so that the acrid sap may come out of them, he is exempt. If one squeezes olives onto his flesh, he is exempt. If he squeezes them and put it into his hand, he is liable. If he skims into a cooked dish, he is exempt. But into a pot, he is liable because it is regarded as a small vat. Okay.
Okay, today we start.
Why is it a problem? Why is it a problem if he pickles or stews or salts in the field? Why is he?
Because that's cover to it for masters. As soon as you start a cooking process, it's no longer a casual meal, right? The reason why you're exempt from masters is because you're just having a snack. When you start sitting down and pulling out the gas cooker and whatever,
I forgot it.
This is no longer just a snack.
I forgot. Shammai says regarding all women, their times of discovering a discharge of blood suffice for them. Hillel says they are considered tummy from the time of their last examination to the time of their present examination, even for many days. But the Chachamim say the law is neither in accordance with the words of this one or not in accordance with the words of that one. Rather, 24 hours reduces the time from examination to examination, and from examination to examination reduces the time of 24 hours. Any woman who has a fixed period, her time suffices for her. And one who examines herself with examination cloths when she engages in relations, this examination is the equivalent of a regular examination and reduces the time from 24 hours and time from examination to examination. What is an example of the law that her time suffices for her? If a woman had been sitting on a bed and handling taharos, and she left the bed and discovered a discharge of human blood, she is tame, but they are all tahor. Even though they could come and say that she conveys tuma retroactively for 24 hours, she begins counting only from the time that she sees the discharge. If Eliezer says there are 4 women whose time suffices for them: a virgin, a pregnant woman, a nursing woman, and an old woman. Rabbi Yeshua said, I have heard this law only with regard to a virgin. However, the law is like Reb Eliezer. Okay. Kulin Yud Aleph. The mitzvah of giving the foreleg, the jaws, and the more apply both in the land and outside the land, when the temple exists and when the temple did not exist, and if to unconsecrated animals, but not to consecrated animals. For it might have been argued, if unconsecrated animals which are not subject to the requirement to give the breast and the thigh are subject to the requirement to give the gifts, these then consecrated animals which are subject to the requirement to give the breast and the thigh, is not logical that they be subject to the requirement to give the gifts. Therefore, Scripture says, I have given them to Aaron the Kohen and to his sons for everlasting right. For only he has only what is mentioned in this section. All consecrated animals that have a permanent blemish prior to their consecration, and they were redeemed, they are subject to the law of Bechor and the gifts to the Kohen. And they revert to mundane status, even to the extent that they may be shorn and put to work, and their offspring and their milk are permissible after their redemption. And one who slaughters them outside the temple is not liable, and they do not affect Tamura. And if they died prior to the redemption, they may be redeemed except for the Bechor offering and the Misa offering. All animals whose consecration preceded their blemish, or whose temporary blemish preceded their consecration, and only after their consecration did they develop the permanent blemish, and they were redeemed, they are exempt from the law of Bechor and from the gifts to the Kohen. And they do not revert to mundane status to the extent of being permitted to be shorn and to be at work, and their offspring and their milk are prohibited after their redemption. And one who slaughters them outside the temple courtyard is liable, and they affect Tamura, and if they die, they must be buried. If a firstborn animal became mingled with 100, in the case that 100 people slaughter them all, we exempt them all. If one person slaughters them all, we exempt one for him. If one slaughters for a Kohen for a Gentile, he is exempt from the gifts, and if one makes a partnership with them, he must mark the meat. But if he says, except for the gifts, he's exempt from the gifts. He said, sell me the entrails of a cow, and they contain the gifts, you must give them to the Kohen. But it does not deduct them from the price.
Hi, Mary.
I'm sorry?
I was just saying goodbye to my daughter.
Oh. And they bought them from him by weight, and he must give them to the Kohen, and he deducts them from the price.
Okay.
And we have Sota. Okay. Vav Dalet. If one witness says she was defiled and another says she was not defiled, or one woman says she was defiled and another says she was not defiled, she drinks. If one says she was defiled and two say she was not, she drinks. If two say she was defiled and one says she was not defiled, she does not drink. Now the first that says here, if one says she was defiled and two says she was not, she drinks. But we usually need two at least for witness.
No, because the witnesses who say they saw the maaseh, they're exempted from drinking, because the drinking is only to remove the suffix if she was secluded. If you got people who say no, she actually had relations with this guy, then she doesn't drink. She just loses her kasuba. So he has to divorce her. That's the thing. So now, when you've got two witnesses who are refuting the one, then she must still drink.
Right. Okay. These may be said in any language. The biblical passage of the Sota, the vow of the tithes, the recitation of Shema, the grace after meals, the oath of testimony, and the oath of the deposit. And these must be said in Lashon Kodesh. The recitation of the passage of the first fruits, Chalitza, blessings and curses, the blessings of the Kohanim, the blessings of the Kohan Gadol, the biblical passage read by the king, the biblical passage of the decapitated calf, and the address of the Kohen anointed for battle, and at the time he speaks to the people.
Right. Okay, and there'll be a deep dive into all of those in the coming Mishnahs.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a great day.
You too.
Take it. Enjoy your day. I hope you're not going
Thank
to
you.
get too
You
excited
too.
about that. Take
Okay.
care, Sean. Be well. Thank you.
Cheers.